Hello everyone. Today we will be doing questions 9 through 16 of the Digital SAT Practice Test 1, Module 2 of the Math section. So starting with question 9, the function f is defined by f of x equals 7x cubed. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals g of x is the result of shifting the graph of y equals f of x down 2 units. Which equation defines function g? Well, if we think about it, first, we can have a quick sketch of f of x. So we know that x cubed will look roughly like this, and 7x cubed will look pretty similar, maybe just stretched out a little bit. But right now we're focusing on the shift. So if we wanted to shift it down 2 units, I guess in this case I'll draw it in blue. We want g of x. You know that this was f. We'd have our whole graph shifted down. And that means that the y-intercept is 2 lower because we know this distance is 2. So that means that we just have 7x cubed minus 2. And that's equal to answer choice D. You could also plug in points. We know that the point 0, 0 is on our graph of f. So if we went down 2 units, we know that 0, negative 2 is on our graph. And if you plugged in x equals 0 to all of these, you would get g is 0, g of x is 0, g of x is 2, and g of x is negative 2. So that reassures you that our answer is D. Moving on to question 10. Which ordered pair xy is the solution to the given system of equations? So we can see that from all of our answer choices here, we know that the solution has an x value of 3. And that makes it really easy to just plug in x equals 3 to this equation here. It's also easy to just subtract 7 from both sides and see that x is 3 that way as well. So x plus 7, that's 3 plus 7 is 10 squared is equal to y. That means that y is equal to 100. That's equal to option A. For question 11, which expression is equivalent to 7x cubed plus 7x minus 6x cubed minus 3x? So 7x cubed plus 7x, and then we can distribute the negative sign, so minus 6x cubed, and then plus 3x, because the negative and the negative create a positive. So let's put together our x cubed terms, because they are like terms. So 7x cubed minus 6x cubed, that leaves you with 1x cubed, which we just write as x cubed. And then we have 7x plus 3x. That gets us 10x. So x cubed plus 10x is equal to option A. For number 12, we have the function p is defined by p of n is equal to 7n cubed. What is the value of n when p of n is equal to 56? So we have two expressions here, and we can just set them equal. And then if we divide by 7 on both sides, we get that n cubed is equal to 8. And it's easy to see that n is equal to 2, but you could always plug in the answer choices or try things out. And that gets us option A. For number 13, we have a figure here, and it says, in the figure shown, line C intersects parallel lines S and T. What is the value of x? So we know that when we have parallel lines, we're going to have a lot of angle measures that are the same. So we have x's right here, and because of these vertical angles, we know that this is also equal to x. And then we have opposite exterior angles between this and this angle, which means that this angle is going to be x. And we know that with this straight line, we'll have 180 degrees. So that means that x plus 110 is equal to 180, which means that x and 110 are supplementary. So subtracting 110 from both sides, we get that x is equal to 70 degrees. Moving on to question 14, we have a list of 10 data values, and we're looking for the mean of these data. So I highly recommend that because you have a calculator. If you do have a graphing calculator, you can put all of these values in a list, and then you can find the mean that way. But in this case, we can just do it by hand as well. So the mean of the data is just the same as the average of this data set, which means that we're going to sum up all of the values and divide by the total amount of numbers, or I guess data. So in this case, we want to add 6 plus 8 plus 16 plus 4 plus 17 plus 26 plus 8 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. And you want to divide that by the total number. And it tells us that there are 10 data values. So I think that it's a lot easier to add together numbers if we group numbers together. So we have 6 and 4 is 10. 5, 5, 5 is 15. We can have 8 and 17 is 25. Then 8 and 16 is 24. And then 26. And then that's divided by 10. And we can simplify this again. So we have 10 plus 15 plus 25. That's 40. 24 plus 26, that's 50. Then we want to divide that by 10. And then 10 plus 40 is 50, plus 50 is 100, divided by 10. Again, you could put that in your calculator, but if you don't have a calculator or you want to double check, you can always group numbers together strategically. And that gets that our average, or our mean, is equal to 10. Moving on to question 15. The equation E of t equals 5 times 1.8 to the power of t gives the estimated number of employees at a restaurant where t is the number of years since the restaurant opened. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 5 in this context? So we're looking for the interpretation of the number 5. So first, let's look at the answer choices. And we either have that it's the estimated number of employees when the restaurant opened, the increase in the estimated number of employees each year, the number of years the restaurant has been open, or the percent increase in the estimated number of employees each year. Well, we notice that 2 of these options have the term each year in them. However, we note that when we have, let's just say E of t is equal to y is equal to 5 times 1.8 to the t. We note that as more years pass, t will increase, but that only affects this 1.8 to the t term. It won't affect the 5. The 5 stays the same no matter what year it is. So that means we can cross out choices B and D. And then we have either it's the number of years that the restaurant has been open, or the estimated number of employees when the restaurant opened. Well, the number of years that the restaurant has been open, that's just equal to t. So we know that it's not C, and that the answer is A. And that makes sense, because if we had 5 employees when the restaurant opened, and the number of employees is increasing each year, then we're multiplying by an increasing amount. And for number 16, we have an equation here, and it's asking for the minimum value of the given function. So if we want to find the minimum value of g of x, we see that g of x is equal to x squared plus 55. So you could always graph this. So we know that x squared usually just looks like this. But if we have plus 55, it would be shifted up by 55 units. And we know that that means our minimum value should only touch at one point, so it's tangent, is when y is equal to 55. You can also note that x squared, or just the squared function in general, will give you a non-negative number. So the minimum value of x squared is 0, and that means you'll always have at least 55. So that gets us option B. If you like the video, make sure to leave a like down below and subscribe.